Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on. We have no choice. We have no choice.
Will the Muslim ghettos that are crippling Europe right now strike America next? Well, that all depends on the next election. Infowars reporter Jon Bowne joins us now. We just saw your report on the tsunami of immigrants that is striking Europe, soon to be in the United States as well if we're not careful.
Well, they're here, and one thing that our Constitution guarantees is that we ensure our domestic tranquility and we provide for the common defense. And everything that Obama and company have done has been an act of going against the very foundation of this country, which is to provide a common defense and provide national security. The national security is obviously being used on us, the Americans. And a flow of terrorist organizations have already been here for decades.
And I want to cut you off, but you've been on the border towns. You've done reports right there on the Texas border. Mm-hmm. And these guys, the Texas Border Patrol volunteers, we've seen that they are seeing alarming items such as Iranian cash. So it's not just all Mexican immigrants, folks, where they're seeing Iranian cash, Muslim prayer rugs, and Arabic to English translation books. They're here.
The most alarming aspect of all this is that a lot of this, we live in an era right now where we're getting our information from hackers and Snowden-level intrusions, and it's the only way we can get our information. And at the end of that report, I read what Breitbart Texas had revealed, that 7,712 terrorists were encountered. Terrorist encounters were held right there on the border of the United States and Mexico. So as these small skirmishes crop up, like what happened in Orlando, and that wasn't small by any account, that was a record mass shooting by a single shooter. But
it was a radical Muslim terrorist.
It was a radical Muslim terrorist who, even to this day, I don't know if you knew the Gold Star mother who was asking Obama why he won't say radical Islam. Mm-hmm. He still won't say it because he doesn't want to offend anybody. Well, we're getting past the point of offending anybody. It's going to be really offensive when you've got a machete in your skull, or your kid's arms are blown off, or these things continue to aggressively, exponentially increase.
Well, that's right. And a lot of the bleeding-hearted liberals, this is the way they get you. They say it's a humanitarian effort, and a lot of liberals do understand it's because of U.S. foreign policy that this is happening, but what they don't understand, it is by design. I mean, these are proxy wars that are there by design to destabilize the regions there so the United States could take over, take advantage of their resources, because this is another strategic placemat on the grand chessboard. And trust me, folks, they want to do the same thing here at home. That's why George Soros is funding Black Lives Matter. He's also funding the whole Muslim refugee crisis in the United States. He's funding Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, and he wants to flood the entire United States with Muslim refugees. And that way, it's divide and conquer. Am I right?
Yeah, and what is the vetting process? How is the vetting process actually going to help? Or is it just more nonsense out of Washington, D.C.? It doesn't matter how many people you vet, how much information you have on them. They will radicalize once they get here, and it's upwards of, 23% at least? According to an article by Paul
Well, according
Watson.
to Barack Obama, we're all afraid of 3-year-old baby orphans. But the sad truth is the majority are males.
Well, it's not a joke anymore. It's not a joke anymore. Americans are being killed. You're not being killed. You're sitting at home watching this TV show, but somebody else in America was attacked by a guy with a machete. There was a guy that attacked a bunch of people in a mall in Minnesota. There are Americans being attacked, and what worries me is that we become this domesticated nation. Alex has in the past always said that he fights for the free, wild human. Think about that. There was a time when we were like wild beasts in the Wild West in the 19th century. The Constitution meant something. And if you did something wrong, then you had to be held accountable for it against the other wild, free humans that lived here.
The Constitution meant more than a football game?
It did.
Really?
It did. Yeah, it actually did. It meant a lot. But now we've become like these tranquil, domesticated animals, the pets that we keep in our house.
It's the pussification of America.
Absolutely. And we're going to either realize that very quickly as long as we get enough people ahead of the curve like we are here. And that's not because we sit around all day and think about conspiracy theories. It's because we know the horrible facts, the horrible truth.
Well, we're talking about how they get through the border illegally, but they're also fast-tracked here through the refugee crisis. Hillary Clinton, it's like they're always trying to outdo each other, because Bill Clinton says he wants to fill the city of Detroit with Syrian refugees. Then Barack Obama says he wants 40,000 of them here. And then Hillary Clinton says, hey, I could do better than that. I want 65 to 70,000 here. And what they want is, what'll end up happening is you'll have these Muslim ghettos like you have in Belgium. Our guys went there. These are no-go zones. The police won't even go there. And folks, that's not racist. That's just the cold hard truth.
There are already areas, Dearborn, Michigan.
Absolutely.
Amarillo, Texas, that are already on the verge of becoming Sharia law areas.
Yep.
And they're also experiencing rape is going up just like it is in Sweden. And that's happening right here in America. And it has to stop. And we have to put a stop to it. The criminals are running the pageant here. And the problem is that we have to stop that narrative. We have to invite the true narrative in and start talking to each other honestly about what's happening, and stop ignoring what's happening in places because they're 1,000 miles from you, but still in your same country.
According to Pew Research, among others, there is a great hatred toward Americans by large segments of the Muslim population. Most recently, a poll from Center for Security Policy released data showing 25% of those polled agreed that violence against Americans, these are people that are here, by the way, people are here, 25, not 1%. By the way, 1% would be unacceptable. 1% is unacceptable. 25% of those polled agreed that violence against Americans here in the United States is justified.
This has to be the topic that is on the forefront of everyone's mind.
And you're absolutely right. And we're going to take a quick commercial break right now. But wait, it's not what you think. This is a TV ad that they're using to indoctrinate or brainwash people in Sweden to accept Muslim migration there. And basically they're saying, get used to it because they are there and they're here to stay.
Det finns ingen väg tillbaka.
Sverige blir aldrig som det varit.
Europa är I förändring.
There's no turning back. That's a quote. Swedish TV ad says Swedes must accept multiculturalism. It shows old Swedes and basically says you're the past. And then you've got the subtitles. A Muslim woman looks up and says something new, the new country. No turning back, a woman in a hijab. And we have George Soros' own emails running the UN, running the Obama administration, running the Hillary operation, saying we're bringing these people in to break down the culture and make the Western free culture adapt to it and submit to it. Because we're so inclusive, we must bring in something uninclusive to make our people submit to this. Then the Muslims will be the client of the government.
Wow, so there you go. That's a heavy piece of propaganda there in Sweden. I don't think it's going to work here, though.
No, it's not going to work here. In fact, the Chicago Council on Global Affairs poll found that just 36% of Americans support bringing Syrian refugees in. And that's going to go down as Hillary pushes it up to 500%, just like her husband, Bill Clinton, incarcerated 500% more Americans after he became president. It's a globalist nightmare. Hillary is a globalist. And if you vote for Hillary, you're voting for a globalist stooge.
That's right. And unlike Muslim refugees who are fleeing their countries, that's not going to happen in America. We're staying here, and we're going to fight.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You gonna sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you gonna be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action.